My name is Jennifer Byrd, and I'm a candidate in the Masters of Education of Instructional Technology at Kennesaw State University. This presentation is my capstone project, Math App Attack. The presentation has several components. It provides the problem and the need of my project. It has the project plan, the project evaluation, the results, and the reflection of the project.
Before I begin giving you the problem or need of the capstone project, I feel it's necessary to go back and give you a little history. In the fall of 2013, I was sitting in my classroom with frustration written all over my face when a team member walked into my room. She asked what was wrong, and I explained that I felt like my math lessons were falling flat. At that time, I had a classroom of 17 early intervention and English language learners in a one-to-one iPad environment. They were fifth grade students. We were in our first week together, and I knew that failure was not an option. I also understood that my own enthusiasm was not enough for these students. Several of the students had previously been retained due to the math state scores and knew the power of defeat. Others were in danger of not passing the math portion of the CRCT, or the Criterion Reference Competency Test, which is Georgia's state spring testing, that would be administered that following spring. Fifth grade is a critical year in Georgia, and it requires students to pass both the math and the reading portions of the test to promote to the sixth grade. Many of my students were struggling with current standards because they didn't know basic math facts and lacked number sense. After a long pause, my coworker looked over at me and pointed to the iPad cart next to my desk. She said, "Put those babies to work." We were already using iPads throughout the day and integrating technology into all content areas in our classroom. But aha! The idea for my capstone was born. Students would use the iPads for math remediation during morning work and in the rotation time designated during our math time each day. But how would I achieve what I wanted to achieve? How could I get my students to know basic knowledge? Technology integration was a no-brainer, but where would I begin? As you know, there are many math apps, so we had to start at the very beginning. A quick search of the App Store revealed page after page of brightly colored and alluring apps. Some were free and others cost money. My school, Clarkdale, was a Title I school and has received allocated funds for technology. The school, along with the district, had purchased software license for a handful of math programs. Most of these programs allowed students to work on current standards. I wanted the apps to focus on teaching students math facts. That's where I wanted to start, but I knew the eventual goal would be to select tools that would support enhancing higher order thinking skills and engaging my learners. However, this had to be accomplished through baby steps, and the first order of business was to put the focus on math fact fluency and automaticity. Will Rogers once said, "If you don't like the weather in Oklahoma, wait a minute, it'll change." And so goes the way of technology. As soon as one digital tool gains notoriety, a second tool is there to take its place. So how do you navigate this ever-developing digital changing world in the world of education? Well, I love technology and its ability to transform lives. Not only do I have a passion for educating students and using technology, but also collaborating and coaching with my peers ties for first place. Knowing that I would want to share all of my findings and future student success with my peers, I set about to develop a program in which I would use research-based, learner-centered practices to select high-quality apps that would increase levels of technology integration in my lessons and student learning. After modeling this gained insight with my students, I would use my knowledge, skills, and dispositions as a technology facilitator in building my design and implementing a professional development opportunity for my peers, beginning first with my fifth grade team members. I outlined the steps that I intended to take and broke it into two phases for my capstone project. First, I would meet with school administration and peers in the building to find out the needs of students. Second, Students would use iPads for morning work and using teacher-selected apps that would focus on math automaticity that would be engaging and motivating. And third, students would be assessed formatively and summatively throughout the years to measure growth. In fact, in the early fall of 2013, I did meet with administration and the technology coach at Clarkdale, along with team members from 3rd and 5th grade. Using best practices, we reviewed the school strategic plan and determined that the findings that digital tools, in this case iPad apps, was the direction worth pursuing, as the number one goal of the SSP was to increase student achievement in math. Everyone that I shared the vision of the project with was enthusiastic about its potential impact at Clarkdale. The second step of Phase 1 was to have the students use teacher-selected math apps for remediation. I chose to do this during morning work and as part of a math rotation during the day. Although during the math time sometimes had apps that pertain to a particular skill or standard, we still practice those math facts. The last step of Phase 1 was to assess the students for progress, to determine how they were doing, and to measure student outcomes. This would be accomplished by both formative and summative assessments. Phase 2 was the professional development portion. Clarkdale offered quarterly professional development opportunities for each grade level team, but this time was focused on language arts and math training with some social studies and science. The school's technology coach also did trainings throughout the year that focused on technology integration in the classroom. The opportunity to share my iPad app experience with others was exciting. As a technology facilitator, I would be able to not only impact my students, but students and peers in my building. By coaching, I would have the opportunity to promote best practices in teaching, learning, and assessment. The coaching plan consisted of a pre-survey that would be able to measure how often those I'd be coaching new technology and use technology, and how they were integrating current technology tools. Because of time restraints and busy calendars, I determined that an asynchronous session would be the best. This was to be done through Blackboard, which would also allow for collaboration among peers. To accompany the uploaded video session, I planned to design handouts that would employ research-based, learner-centered strategies to address the issue of how to select high-quality apps with little to no cost. And as mentioned before, we would have chat spaces to collaborate. The evaluation plan needed to encompass the bifold project. Before sharing the information, I would first need to assess my students. This was done through observations as well as summative and formative assessments. To evaluate the professional development phase, I plan to use post-coaching surveys and interviews with the participants to assess the impact that the coaching experience had had on my team. In this section, I will share my capstone experience and results. I was pleased with my project. Phase 1 went off as planned. As with many things in life, there can always be a hiccup. Phase 2 had some bumps initially. Even though the training was asynchronous, the participants were planned to complete it during the post-planning in May. This was delayed because I was asked to wait. My team met and determined that it could be done at the beginning of the summer through Edmodo. This was delayed again as my family made a move out of state. One team member moved across country, and another team member transferred schools. Finally, in the fall of 2004, I was able to complete this phase. Because of the moves with myself and the other teacher and the transfer of the third, I decided to use the modern marvels of the digital age and create a narrated PowerPoint akin to this one to coach my peers. I created a brochure with ways to select apps and also a handout with high-quality math apps attached. I also created a handout with QR codes to helpful blogs to help describe them, because we all know, as Will Rogers said, the weather will change. So I wanted them to have something in their hand, a place to go so they could look up other apps. To follow up, I interviewed the participants and used a survey to determine the effectiveness of coaching. As far as my student success and finding apps, at first it was trial and error process. I relied on word of mouth and a list of blogs for free apps. I also used apps in which the school had a purchase license to the software, so I downloaded the app. Slowly, I learned to look for free apps that were engaging and offered students rewards for their work and for their continued motivation. I also liked apps where I could connect the whole class and assign tasks. This ability is limited in free apps. We were able to control the downloads because only 3 people had access to the code to download apps to all 3 iPad carts in the school. It was myself, the media specialist, and the technology coach. The experience was successful, and the results were successful. By the end of the year, my class had grown to 19 students. After testing in March on the CRCT and retesting in May, all but 2 of my early intervention and English language learners passed the math portion. Success. Students found the apps more helpful and engaging than flashcards because they were given feedback and could progress on their level. By the end of the year, many students had done so well in learning the facts that they were allowed to use other apps that allowed them to create math story problems to share with friends, encouraging the higher level thinking skills that I so wanted them to employ, and increasing the rigor and relevance of the standards. In my opinion, this occurred because of the self-confidence the students gained through growth and successes they experienced throughout the year. Their reward was not only candy or stickers or badges, but a boost in self-esteem. Phase 2 was also successful. I gained information that I was also then able to transfer to my peers. Those I coached liked participating and thought the convenience of the asynchronous session was good, but some also felt like a designated time might help them stick to a time frame better. They appreciated the handouts and information along with the QR codes. This made it helpful to find quality apps. However, they missed the collaboration that spontaneously happens in face-to-face training. Out of that experience, I have developed a collaborative space where people can share an app and its benefits to students. The final phase of my capstone project is the reflection. I broke these into glows and grows. Glows are things that really shine, and grows are green, but it's an area of improvement. In the area of glows in my reflection, I saw that students achieved significant achievement in their learning goals. Only 2 of my 19 students did not pass the CRCT. I was so excited. Secondly, student self-esteem was boosted. I hope that this carries on for a long time in my students' lives. Concerning the professional development portion of it, handouts and information were helpful in choosing high-quality apps. My peers felt that the information that I gave them could be used in their very own classroom. In Grows, free apps that track student success are hard to find. I hope in the future to keep looking for apps in which teachers can connect to their students and students can collaborate with each other inside of the app. The grow in the professional development portion was the collaboration space. There's just nothing that can take the place of spontaneous collaboration within a training, and I want to work on that. Well, that wraps it up for my capstone project. I hope that you learned something. I look forward to hearing from you. You can comment on my website, jbyrd2.weebly.com. I would love to hear how you're integrating apps in your own classroom or how you choose quality apps. Thanks.